Hey there, awesome RC fan. Welcome to TJsRC. Thanks for being here today. Glad you made it. Hope you've been following along this series as we go through taking apart the Traxxas TRX4 Bronco. In the first episode, we went ahead and removed all the electronics necessary for our troubleshooting. In the second episode, we went ahead and removed the transmission, checked the insides, making sure it was all working properly the way it's supposed to. Discovered that it was. So I went ahead and mounted that back in the chassis, then got the chassis out of the way for today's episode. Today, we're going to go ahead and look inside portal axles that come with the Traxxas TRX4. Before we dig into that, I'll just give you a brief overview of what a portal axle is, how it's different from a regular straight axle. But then we're going to take it apart, check the insides, make sure that the portals and the center differential area are all doing what they're supposed to, and that there's nothing amiss. If that sounds like something you'd be interested, stay with us. All right, now that we're back over to the bench, let me give you a quick overview of the differences between the portal axle setup and a traditional axle setup. The first thing that you'll notice on the traditional style axle is that the hubs, the axle, and the differential all line up together in a line so that your ground clearance ends up being this low-hanging area, and however far away from the ground the diameter of your tire puts you. The first thing that you'll notice about the portal axle design is that the center line of the differential and the axles is raised above the center line of the wheels and hub. Therefore, if you had the same size tires, you would have increased ground clearance, which in many cases would be beneficial for off-roading, rock crawling, etc. Another benefit of the portal axle design is added gear reduction that happens right at the hub that's not having to happen in the drivetrain between the motor and the wheels. On the other hand, some would argue having all of the extra pieces between the tire and the motor creates more places for failure. Now, in our case here, the TRX4, they're pretty beefy. In fact, we're going to move this out of the way right now, and we're going to dig right in. This is the rear axle. Now I went ahead and removed all 24 bolts ahead of time. 2 bolts on each side that hold the portal gear assembly to the axle. We're going to remove both of those right away. We can set that off to the side. Now I removed all of the screws that hold the cover on, so we're going to slowly pry the cover off. Take a look inside there. Is that everything looks good. There's a nice even layer of grease around all of the pieces. There's no discoloration of it. There's no evidence of grime being in there. It looks exactly as you would expect it to look. The bearings underneath look good. There's no tiny marks in the gear teeth themselves to indicate that there's anything in here, that doesn't belong, any foreign pieces or chunks of metal. That all looks exactly as it should. Put that back together. We'll set that one aside. Pry this off, look inside. That looks good. I don't know how well it'll come across on camera because the grease in the light is creating quite a glare. But again, this side looks good, feels smooth. These gears are pretty beefy, so I don't foresee having any trouble for what I use it for. I've seen videos online of guys destroying these gears, but usually it's because they're extremely overpowering the rig, so I am not concerned about that being an issue at all. I'm going to set these aside now. Next, we're going to look at the differential itself on the rear end here. Pull that cover off. Okay. Nice even layer of grease all around in there. No discoloration. Again, no foreign particles have got inside there. Nothing's getting in. That is exceptional to find. Glad to see that. Now, what you will notice here is this weird looking piece. This is the lockable differential. This cable goes to a chassis mounted servo to unlock or lock the differential so that it sends power equally to both sides. When this is pushed forward like that, it unlocks it, right, so that power only goes to one side or the other. When the cable is slid the other direction, it moves that ring over, locking the two sides together. Okay, well, that looks exactly as it should. So we're going to put that cover back on. There, got the cover on. There, now we got it all back together. I'll go ahead and put the new hardware in off camera so that we can move on to the next part, and that is taking a look at the front end, which is a lot more complicated. On the front axle, the entire axle itself comes out when you pull the outer portal housing off, because the axle is fastened to the top here in this CV style joint. We don't have to take that apart though. We just need to turn this over. Again, this one looks really good. There's a good layer of grease on everything. It's not discolored. There's no evidence of anything getting inside there. Turns smooth. There's no marks on any of the teeth that there's any foreign debris in here. The bearing on the back side looks good. We'll go ahead and set that back together. Set that off to the side. And we'll go ahead and pull this one out. This one looks really good too. It's smooth. There's no marks on any of the teeth. We'll go ahead and reassemble that one. Set that aside, and then we'll go ahead, pull the differential cover off on the front. Take a look inside there. The locker moves smoothly. There's no evidence of any grime in there. The teeth all look smooth. So again, all we're discovering so far up to this point is that everything appears to be working as it's supposed to. Which, when you're troubleshooting, it's actually good news, because every time you eliminate possibilities, you are narrowing down the field of options. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get these assembled here. All right, we got all the pieces back. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and snap my fingers, get the new hardware on so you can see that. It's not working. We need to do both. Awesome. Now that we got the shiny stainless hardware on there, I gotta admire it a little bit. I certainly like the shiny, not to mention the corrosion resistance that it's gonna offer. I must say that I'm pretty happy that we didn't actually find anything wrong. We did learn a little bit about how portal axles operate and how they function on the insides, so that was a bonus. It's also a bonus that you made it all the way to the end of the video today. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. This completes the mechanical part of our troubleshooting, so pretty much there's nothing wrong between the spur gear and the tires. That we've been able to prove by taking everything apart, checking the insides, making sure they all work properly. Next week, we'll continue our troubleshooting as we further narrow down what possible options could be left to cause the problems we're having. For those that did make it all the way to the end, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Let's end the video today with something fun. Tell me in the comments, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Mine is Butter Pecan. I know, has nothing to do with RC, but you know what? RC hobby is supposed to be fun. So today, we're gonna have some fun with the comments section. Thanks for being here. You have a great week, and don't forget to tell me about your favorite ice cream. Until next time, thanks for being an awesome RC fan.